Hey guys, so it's been a while since I've made a video. I've been super busy lately, so I haven't got around to making some YouTube videos. So it's almost a week or over a week since I made a video. But today I just want to talk about KAS and some of the amazing stuff that's going on with KAS and how I think it's not going to be long before KAS is breaking into top 10 and eventually top 3, probably eventually top 2, even possibly, and I think we're going to discuss it, KAS could become the number one crypto. So yeah, this week I've just been sharing some things on Twitter, and it was just about we've basically been going through a mini bear market in the middle of a bull market. We're still in a bull market in terms of if you zoom out and look at the last year, even further the last year, we've been in a bull market, but we're just going through a downtrend at the moment, and weak hands are selling their crypto. And the way I look at it, and the way I'm sure a lot of you look at it, is I don't care if we had a bear market that went on for the next 3 years and, some of these projects like KAS or Cubic lost a lot of value. I would just be buying them all up. I just believe in these projects long term. And I think they're going to have their day in a big way soon. But KAS is already getting to have its day. So, yeah, I shared this on X this week. I was just talking about like the strength of KAS. While nearly all other cryptos are in downtrend, KAS is on a bull run of its own, and as you can see, it's been shooting up. And then yesterday it was up over 18 cents, and today it's had like the mildest of corrections, but still up around 18 cents and a market cap of 4 billion. But more importantly, it's flipping so many other cryptos out there, and it's getting close to being a top 20 crypto, which is just incredible growth for this project. And when we talk about reasons for that, well, the first reason is, we're going through these continuous halvings, if you want to call it. Like the halvings happen gradually over the space of a year and happen quite dramatically. There's so much KAS already released out there. There's not that much even left to mine at this point. And then we're going through these halving periods. So KAS, it should be just increasing in value based off that. And we see the last halving or chromatic phase, as they call it, so it wasn't a complete halving. I'm not going to explain that to you guys in the KAS community. You understand what that is. If you're someone new to KAS, just look that up and you'll get it. That's a whole other video. But that happened on the 7th of July. The next one is going to be happening on the 6th of August, and they're happening every month. So that just alone is going to keep increasing the value of KAS. And then obviously Casplex is such a huge thing, and we're seeing now tokens releasing on the KAS network, and we're going to see smart contracts coming to the KAS network, and we're going to see a whole ecosystem built on top of KAS, and that's been happening, and that's just a huge marker for increasing price and increasing the use and exposure of KAS. So that's a reason for price increases. And then of course we have the fact that KAS looks like it's going to start launching major stable coins. And as it says here, KAS will move stable coins efficiently, inexpensively, and at lightning speed. Sound like it already exists? It doesn't. KAS will do this on a space layer once the state of smart contracts roll out. First, scalable, decentralized proof of work with the same ethos as Bitcoin. And then as we can see, just USDT, so Tether coming on to KRC20 and USDC coming on to KRC20. Dollars moved around the world faster and cheaper than anything on a fully decentralized, secure, scalable network that was fair launched. So this is a really, really big deal. If we start seeing these stable coins launching on KAS, it's going to be such a big deal. I'm going to bring so many eyes to it, going to suck up so much liquidity. It's going to increase the price of KAS exponentially, and it's going to be huge. And as KAS, as it says here, efficiently, inexpensively, and at lightning speed. Efficiently, and we'll talk about this later in the video, but KAS, as far as electrical use or electrical power use, it's extremely efficient. Inexpensive, and at lightning speed, you can send like millions and millions of dollars in transactions on the KAS network in milliseconds for fractions of a cent, absolute fractions of a cent. So this, and it's all done being completely scalable and decentralized and secure and then a proof of work model. And it's going to get faster as we move to 10 blocks per second and then 100 blocks per second. So, this is a hugely bullish reason. And to be honest, even these 3 reasons for price increases I've given here, I don't think they're even reflected in KAS's price right now. But then we go on to the most bullish news, which is that Marathon Mining, the world's largest publicly traded crypto mining company, has diversified their mining operations after only ever mining Bitcoin. They've chosen KAS. And as this person says here, take a moment to let that sink in. KAS is the future. Really big deal when you take Marathon, and let's just look at that for a second. So this person here says then, now that Marathon is mining KAS, the potential for a Caspa ETF has become much greater, because Marathon's shareholders include BlackRock, the Vanguard Group, and many more, and I've got some of them down here. Don't forget, KAS already has 84% circulating supply and was fair launched. And again, I explain what fair launched is in so many videos, so if you guys don't understand what fair launched is, you got to look into why that's a big deal as well. And any corporate interest is just that. There was no pre-sale, no coins, no vesting. And then we see here Marathon Digital Holdings, and we can see some of these shareholders include Vanguard, BlackRock, Jane Street Group, Citadel Advisors, just Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund Investor. Basically, State Street. Basically a really, really, really big deal that these guys are mining KAS. And you got to think, what is the reason for Marathon, backed by all these huge shareholders? What is the reason that they only ever mined Bitcoin and now they're switching to KAS? And we're going to talk about that. So Shai Desh, who, if you guys don't follow on X, you need to follow, because he's one of the developers that works on Caspa, and he's brilliant. He's a bit touchy sometimes, but he's brilliant, and he shares a lot of great information. He said, let us imagine a world where KAS is as big as Bitcoin, and what would that mean for small miners? Let's do some rough back-of-the-envelope calculation. The going rate of an Antminer S19 is around $1,350, and it provides about 115 TH per second. So mining Bitcoin roughly costs around $12 per TH per second for a small miner buying retail ASICs. But let's assume for now that that's everybody. Multiplying by Bitcoin's global HR of 650 million TH per second, we get a total capex of about 7.8 billion. Okay, guys. Again, I'm not the most technical person in the world. I don't understand some of the minute details of what they're saying here, but I understand the big idea of what they're saying here is they're talking about the expenses of mining Bitcoin, basically, and how expensive it is. Then they say here that Bitcoin produced almost exactly 1,000 blocks per week. So for an average weekly revenue, a solo miner or pool needs 0.1% of total HR, which hash rate, that means, by the way, HR, which costs about 7.8 million. So they're saying for an average weekly revenue, basically it would cost someone just $7.8 million. So that's just the first point we want to get, just talking about the expense of mining Bitcoin right now. Then he goes on to say, in 10 blocks per second, there are 6,000 more blocks, so this cost drops to about $12,000. So at this point, he's talking now about KAS in this situation. Not pocket money, but definitely not corporate-only sums. In 100 blocks per second, this drops to $1,200 for a weekly block or $300 for a monthly block. So basically, now we're talking about the cost of mining with KAS and how much cheaper it is. And then he goes on to say, but what about energy? So the S9 consumes around 23 joules TH, so roughly around 2 watts per hour per $1 of capex. In comparison, the KS3 costs around $3 and produces 6, and so on. Consumes about 3,000 caps. So they are in the same order of magnitude. So in Bitcoin, mining a weekly block requires running $7.8 million hardware, which requires around 15,000 kilowatts per hour, whereas in 10 blocks per second Caspa, it would require about about $12,000 and require about 12 kilowatts per hour, which is roughly equivalent to constantly running 12 washing machines. Again, not pocket money, but far from corporate only. And I guess then the point that he's making here is that on 100 blocks per second Caspa, that would be only $1,200 per second, or $1,200, which would require whatever 1.2 kilowatts per hour. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm probably actually wrong about that. I don't know. You guys tell me if I'm working out that. The point that I'm getting from this, because I'm not the most technical person in the world, the point I'm taking from all this is that Caspa is way, 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 way more efficient to mine and way cheaper to mine than Bitcoin, which is obviously why you're going to get a big mining agency like Marathon mining KAS. And I'm going to talk about that a bit more in a second. But then they go on to say, bear in mind that this computation assumes that the CAPEX to OPEX ratio, Caspa and Bitcoin remains fixed. So yeah, he's basically just kind of saying, that this is just him making up some numbers on the spot. It's not completely 100% guaranteed to be accurate, but it's giving you an idea of what's right. But let's talk about Marathon. So yeah, they'd want to mine KAS, probably mine it over Bitcoin eventually because it's way cheaper to mine. But there's a lot of cryptos out there right now that are cheaper to mine than Bitcoin. But you got to realize that all these major shareholders here and major companies have picked KAS, the only other crypto other than Bitcoin, and they pick KAS. And why are they doing that? Because they realize, I think, and I think most of you would agree, they're realizing that KAS is the future now of crypto. Will it be the future in 10, 20 years? I don't know. So at one point, Bitcoin and Ethereum were the future, but for the foreseeable future, KAS is going to be the chosen crypto. That's what it seems like to me. It's going to pump like crazy, and even if there's some otherworldly invention that comes out, I think like Ethereum and Bitcoin, KAS is going to have that name and become a poster boy and just be a major crypto. But maybe nothing will come out that's more advanced in this area either. But then let's go on to some Michael Saylor. If you follow him, one of the biggest Bitcoin maxis out there, making a kind of abstract comment here, and you can take from what you want. But he says, take a bite, and he writes Bitcoin down here. But then he puts Bitcoin in the color of KAS. Now, are you telling me that at the same time as it's been announced that Marathon is talking about mining KAS, and now Mike Saylor, who's one of the biggest Bitcoin maxis you'll see out there, is suddenly sharing Bitcoin with KAS colors, that he's not getting onto this bigger picture as well, and probably has friends that are insiders and see what's coming, and this guy is going to be buying KAS like crazy, or isn't already, and is going to pump it like crazy. Like that's so obvious what that means, in my opinion. Look, I mean, sometimes things can be wrong, but that's not the color of Bitcoin, it's the color of KAS. And that's something that I hear people saying lately, and I think it's just misunderstandings and people not being educated enough on what they're talking about. I'm not saying I'm the ultimate educated person either, but I've just heard people say things that don't quite make sense. Is that they talk about, Bitcoin someday will be able to do what KAS does now. It's just they're just working on it, and they quote the Lightning Network. But the Lightning Network has been around and been discussed for we're about 8 years since this has been first discussed, and still not working very well. It's also not very decentralized, and it's definitely not secure. And I don't even know, can you call it a blockchain technology? Really, there's a lot of issues with it. So I don't know how I feel like that, but trust me when I say that Bitcoin is not going to become KAS overnight. KAS is far beyond what Bitcoin ever was. And then we got to talk then about KAS continues to follow the power law, and that is again a big deal. And I think it could break the power law eventually because of all these developments we're seeing, and because of Casplex and KRC20 and smart contracts and stable coins releasing on KAS. But just based on nothing other than just the halving logarithmic periods that's going through. It's following the power law still. And then, as we see here, Mika General shared how much Caspa do you need to be a millionaire? It depends on how long you want to wait. So this is based on the power law. Based on the power law, 1 million Caspa will be worth $1 million in 2025. So basically in 2025, we're expecting to see $1 CAS. And that, these are more like minimum numbers that we're expecting. Then in 2027, 100K CAS will be worth $1 million. And then 10K CAS will be worth $1 million in 2032. And then 1K CAS will be worth 1 million in 2039. And that's if CAS continues to follow the power law, which, as you can see, it's been following pretty clearly all this time. So let's see if that continues to happen. But I think, if anything, CAS is going to break the power law to the upside, which is exciting and crazy to think of. So guys, I'm going to start ending every CAS video with, because I'm just thinking, some of you guys have seen my videos before and you'll know this thing that I'm going to share last, but some of you haven't. I just want to educate everyone on it. So if you've seen this video before, feel free to skip it, although I just recommend watching it again. But if you guys haven't seen it before, this is going to blow your mind. I'm going to share a video now of, you got to realize the big picture of this, that ever since Bitcoin's inception, ever since Ethereum's inception, ever since Cardano, all these cryptos, they've all been trying to build something, and they've all been talking about what they've been trying to build, and they've been quoting that in their white papers. And what they were trying to build is CAS. And the creator of CAS is Jonathan Sompolinsky, and he gets mentioned all through this video. And you're going to see all these OGs of crypto and all these creators of top crypto projects, and they're all going to be discussing CAS. So I'm going to end this video with that. So check that out.
And a really rigorous inquiry.
I mean, it's extremely fascinating. I would say this is the most fascinating protocol out there.
It things down. It doesn't damage throughput or security. So this was a line of research that started in Israel under two people, Avi Zohar and Yonatan Somopinski.
What year did that come out?
And the first paper was called Ghost, and it came out 2013. And actually, we included Ghost, a version of it, in the Ethereum protocol. So later on, what they did is they built up the theory, they built up the rigor, and they created a new version of the protocol called Spectre, which came out in 2016.
Right.
And they've been since iterating and refining and thinking carefully about the model.
Putting all that work into, creating a DAG. I mean, that's something that you're really serious about implementing. I had
thousands of transactions per second, low latency, confirmation times. It's basically like an order of magnitude performance.
Yeah, we have rewards for mining blocks. Actually, the rewards for mining blocks in Ethereum are a bit sort of better. They use what's called the Ghost algorithm, which basically means in Bitcoin you might have the case where a bunch of people mine the block all at the same time, and only one actually gets rewarded because only one makes it into the blockchain. Well, in Ethereum, they all get rewarded. They get rewarded slightly less if they're a bit late, but they still get rewarded. So you end up with a slightly more of a reason to mine. Isn't the Ghost algorithm created by who, sorry? The FSB, that's the Russian Secret Service. Well, if they created it, they did us a good favor. Thanks.
And we try to build on top of the Ghost consensus and our new gas consensus and ordering algorithm in CONS blocks achieve a high performance, safety, and liveness guarantees.
Brilliant. There's a guy named Aviv Zohar who's written some great papers. One of them is on Ghost, which is what Ethereum is based on. And he's got a follow-up to that whose name escapes me. And he's also co-authored a great paper on attacks against Bitcoin from the underlying network. So he's one of the experts on the security of Bitcoin, which is a skill and knowledge set in scarce supply. So
briefly, what we want to do is we want to research Spectre, which came from Avi Zohar and Yonatan Somopinski, and extract from Spectre a specification and see if we can pull it into a production cryptocurrency like Zencash.
Now, that's not the CPU floor, Spectre.
No, Spectre's a little bit older. So Spectre, the upgrade for Ghost. That's the problem, is that you come up with a super cool name for your product. Somebody steal your damn names for it. If you Google Spectre Avi Zohar, AVI-ZOHAR, basically it's the upgrade of the prior work that they did, which was Ghost, which was what we used in Ethereum. The point is that you can make many blocks in parallel, and that you can have a different way of structuring data and structuring transactions so that you can get as much scalability as possible.
So consensus runs on these two big algorithms. One of them is this LMD ghost fork choice rule, which is an adaptation of this ghost algorithm that was invented by Jonathan Sampolinski in 2013 to a proof-of-stake context.
And the main goal ghost proposal on the Bitcoin, and this is written by Aviv and Jonathan, both brilliant mathematicians from Israel. Mathematician academic.
I love Ghost, so I'm sure the Spectre is great. I mean, just from the reputation of the authors, but I haven't looked at it. But have you? Is it awesome? Oh yeah. Okay, cool. So basically, we're just describing Spectre, which is this protocol by Aviv Zohar and Jonathan Tomblovsky again. I'm not sure who the other.
A lot of research, and already a lot of very smart people have worked on many, many variants of consensus algorithms, from slight variants, such as, for example, the Ghost protocol, GOST.
The reason that it's called Casper is kind of interesting. And I don't know if the name means anything to you, but there's a real famous researcher, they're Israeli actually, and they came up with an inherent flaw in proof-of-stake networks. And this was pointed out back in 2013. And this flaw is called Ghost, the greediest, heaviest observed subtree, or Ghost for short.
As for example, rather than use ALB, Satoshi's strongest chain method took the Avi Zohar's Ghost protocol from Hebrew University, which is vastly superior.
Adding DAGs. And right here in Israel, for example, there's been a large series of paper by Avi Zohar and Jonathan Sampolinski about things like Spectre, and later the other one was called Ghost. And well, Ghost came first, then Spectre, then Phantom, where they're saying, can we take traditional mining, tighten the block interval, and somehow deal with the orphans that are a consequence, and the system just works somehow. It's like a DAG versus a regular linked list. And it's a great line of research, and they're publishing papers and so.
And this leads us to this sort of second really important component of EC, which is chain selection. So for chain selections, we sort of follow a simple rule. Forks are bad, convergence is good, and sort of batching blocks together helps push the blockchain to converge. So we're using a block DAG structure like in Phantom or Spectre so that we make use of all the computation that was sort of, or all the storage that was generated.
So Taraxa operates on a block DAG topology. So this topology was first proposed by a bunch of researchers, Zohar and all. These are the guys that wrote the three pretty famous papers, Ghost, Spectre, and then Phantom Ghost Stat, right? So this topology actually allows multiple nodes on the network to simultaneously propose blocks, without sacrificing security. So they actually did a lot of very interesting research on that.
No one's ready for it. And so scaling prematurely by just ramping up block sizes, unfortunately, it might buy you some time, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be ready for that level of volume. On the other hand, you have the whole DAG and, Spectre and all those sort of technologies which are ready.
Work from Avi Zohar and Jonathan Sampolinski on directed acyclic graphs, where they started with proof of work in something called Ghost, all the way down to Spectre, down to Phantom. So there's like a series of papers that they wrote. And the basic concept was that in proof of work, if you shrink the block interval, you get faster block times, but you increase the probability of orphan blocks. So ordinary Bitcoin rule is, well, if you have an orphan block, you have a race condition, whichever one you build on top of, that's the chain you go with, you throw away the orphan block. So you lose all that work. With Ghost and Spectre and Phantom, you just throw it on to the chain. You include all of them as long as there's not a double spend. And if there is, there's a way of mitigating that within the protocol. If you follow the protocol and everybody's honest, it's very fast. You get a huge speed improvement.
And then the question we ask is the protocol secure for any latency? So fix lambda, fix the block creation rate, and now devise a consensus protocol that is secure for any D. And we argue that there's no proof of work, or indeed no other consensus protocol that has achieved it, and it's in fact impossible to achieve without proof of work.